Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling something.
Big.
Yeah, something big. Something that really pushes the boundaries of conventional history. An alternate narrative that asks us to reconsider what we thought we knew.
About the very beginnings.
Yeah, about the very beginnings of civilization.
Human civilization.
Exactly. And to make things even more intriguing,
The sources.
the sources for this deep dive aren't just your typical history textbooks.
Oh, no.
We're talking archaeology.
Ancient texts.
Ancient texts.
Even a bit of physics thrown in.
Yeah, we're going to places that most history books don't even touch. We're asking, what if?
What if?
What if advanced civilizations, maybe even more advanced than us, existed thousands of years?
Thousands and thousands.
Earlier than we think.
Before the flood, even.
Before the flood. It's wild.
It is wild.
But it's not just speculation. We're going to look at
The evidence.
the evidence, and we're going to start
With something tangible.
with something tangible, the old copper complex.
The old copper complex in the Great Lakes region.
North America.
In North America.
This immediately throws a wrench in
It's in their timeline.
the standard timeline of how technology developed, because we're talking about copper artifacts
Tools, weapons.
going back 7,000 years.
7,000.
7,000 years. Most history books tell us that advanced metalworking didn't happen till much later in places like
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia or Egypt.
Right. And that's what makes the old copper complex
So important.
so important.
Right. It suggests
That North America.
that North America could have been
Way ahead.
way ahead of the game when it comes to metallurgy.
I mean, to put it in perspective,
Yeah.
the Great Pyramid, 4,500 years old, these copper artifacts were older,
Much older.
considerably.
We're talking about a level of sophistication that, according to our current understanding, just shouldn't have existed
Shouldn't have been there.
in North America at that time.
Nope. It points to a level of knowledge
In skill.
that we usually think of with much later civilizations.
So, did these early Americans just figure this out all on their own? Or could it be evidence of
Contact?
contact or...
Legacy of
Got
an
it.
even older civilization.
It's a big question.
It is.
And it leads us to
Another piece.
another fascinating piece of the puzzle. Poverty Point.
Poverty Point, Louisiana.
Massive earthworks.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what?
Thousands of years old.
Thousands of years old. One of the largest and most complex
Work sites.
earthwork sites in North America.
The scale and precision
The precision is just
is remarkable.
remarkable. These mounds and ridges are aligned,
With astronomical events.
suggesting a deep understanding of the cosmos.
Hmm.
So not just skilled metalworkers, but also
Astronomers.
astronomers
Engineers.
and engineers. We're starting to see
A picture.
a picture of a truly sophisticated ancient culture.
But what if
Well,
evidence of even more advanced civilizations beneath the waves?
Whoa! Underwater cities. Now that sounds
Myth.
a myth.
Or science fiction.
Science fiction. Are we talking about natural formations, or
Could
could these really be the remnants of
Settlement.
ancient settlements?
It's definitely debatable.
Okay.
But these formations are fascinating. Take the Bimini Road,
Bimini Road, off the coast of...
Bahamas. Large rectangular stones that form a path
underwater.
underwater.
Huh?
Some say it's natural.
Okay.
Others say it's part of a...
A submerged
Submerged.
harbor or roadway?
Wow, what about the Yonaguni Monument?
Oh, even more controversial.
Really?
Off the coast of Japan,
Japan.
this massive
Well,
stepped structure,
People think it could be a...
submerged pyramid, temple,
There are features that look like
carved,
steps, terraces.
which are hard to explain away as just natural.
Right.
But couldn't skeptics say that it's all just...
Erosion.
Yeah.
Geological processes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
But the fact that these structures exist, along with other underwater sites around the world,
Like the Gulf of Cambay.
the Gulf of Cambay,
Over 9,000.
9,000-year-old artifacts.
Really makes you
What do you
wonder,
think?
rethink what we know about early coastal civilizations.
And how vulnerable they were.
vulnerable. It's like, what if there are
Entire cities
entire cities, entire chapters of history
lost.
lost beneath the oceans? This ties back into those flood myths.
Flood myths.
We were talking
Is
about
it global?
global flood myths.
Yeah.
Stories of cataclysmic floods that
Reshaker.
wiped out
Entire civilizations.
entire civilizations. What if those myths are
Passed
more than just stories? What if they're echoes of real events?
down.
Passed down through generations,
Memories.
memories of a time when rising sea levels or
Catastrophic floods.
forced advanced civilizations to retreat or...
Perish.
It's a chilling thought.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We've got these submerged cities.
Yeah.
We've got copper working in North America way before it should have been there. But then there are also these objects, these artifacts that just seem
Out of place.
totally out of place for the time they were found.
Out of place artifacts?
The London hammer, found in rock,
Millions.
millions of years old. The Antithera mechanism
An astronomical calculator.
from ancient Greece,
Hundreds of years.
hundreds of years ahead of its time.
Sometimes called the first analog computer.
It's so complex, especially for something created
Over 2,000 years ago.
over 2,000 years ago. And then you've got
The Baghdad battery.
the Baghdad battery, clay pots.
Copper tubes, iron rods.
Could this have been a crude battery?
Maybe used for electroplating.
I mean, couldn't some of these out-of-place artifacts just be...
Hoaxes. Misinterpretations.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Skepticism is healthy.
Okay.
But when you look at
But
the
sheer number.
variety of these artifacts, it's hard to
dismiss them all.
dismiss them all as just mistakes or fakes.
They deserve
They deserve a closer look. All right, so we've got copper artifacts in America,
older than the pyramids.
massive earthworks that are aligned with the stars, potential underwater cities.
And these technological marvels that just seem
Way ahead.
way ahead of their time.
And we can't forget about
We're not done.
ancient texts
Ancient texts.
and oral traditions.
Those flood myths we talked about.
They're not just isolated stories.
They're everywhere.
All over the world.
It's like a
Collective memory.
collective memory, shared experience that goes beyond culture,
And some of these texts go even further.
beyond just describing a flood,
Hinting
hinting
on
at
advanced
vast
societies
that existed,
before the flood.
lost and forgotten.
Give me an example.
Okay, the Sumerian king lists.
Sumerian king lists. What are those?
They list the reigns of kings
Okay.
before and after a great flood.
Before and after. Okay.
And some of these kings are said to have ruled for
Hundreds.
hundreds, even thousands.
Thousands of years.
It does make you wonder,
That doesn't seem
possible.
right. It challenges how we think about
Yeah.
historical timelines.
What if these long reigns are symbolic, representing
Seas
dynasties or even eras
of civilizations that lasted far longer
than we think?
than we imagine.
Okay, so we're considering the possibility that these ancient texts
Might hold
might hold clues to a lost history
a history
of advanced civilizations that existed before our current understanding.
before we thought possible.
What if these civilizations weren't just advanced technologically, but also in their understanding of
Consciousness.
consciousness, interconnectedness,
What if they had knowledge
that we're only just rediscovering?
through modern physics?
Quantum physics. How does that tie into all of this?
Well, that's what we're going to...
Explore next.
The 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics.
I'm not a physicist. How does a Nobel Prize?
It all comes down to the nature of reality.
Okay.
And that's where we'll pick up
In the next part.
in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into some really mind-bending stuff. You mentioned the 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics. You said it connects to our search for these lost civilizations. I'm all ears, but honestly, I'm still a bit lost. What exactly did this Nobel Prize research find? And how does it challenge our understanding of reality?
Well, the experiments that won the Nobel Prize, they actually proved something called quantum entanglement.
Okay.
Basically, it means that two tiny particles, can be linked together. And even if they're separated by huge distances, they still instantly affect each other.
Wait. Hold on. You're saying that two particles, maybe miles apart or even light years apart,
Light years.
can somehow communicate? Instantly. That just seems to break
All the rules.
all the rules of physics.
It definitely challenges our classical understanding of physics.
Yeah.
You know, we always thought the speed of light
Yeah.
was the ultimate speed limit. But quantum physics
Quantum physics.
is showing us that reality is way more interconnected and mysterious
More than we thought.
than we ever imagined.
Okay, so particles can be, what did you call it?
Entangled.
Entangled.
Yeah.
They can influence each other across
Yeah.
vast distances. It's a lot to wrap my head around, but I think I'm with you so far. But what does this have to do with ancient civilizations? Like,
Yeah.
how do we connect those dots?
Well, it suggests that information
Okay.
might not be limited by time and space. in the way that we normally think.
Okay.
I mean, if these tiny particles can be connected across huge distances,
Yeah.
what if consciousness or knowledge can also transcend those limitations?
You're saying that ancient civilizations might have somehow, I don't know, tapped into this interconnectedness, this quantum field to like access knowledge or technologies that seem impossible to us now?
It's a fascinating possibility, isn't it? Imagine ancient cultures not just observing the stars, but truly understanding the universe.
At a quantum level?
At a quantum level, maybe they used entanglement for communication or even to manipulate energy.
Okay, I'm trying to keep an open mind, but this is starting to sound a little sci-fi, you know. If this interconnectedness is real and if ancient civilizations could use it, why can't we? Why haven't we figured it out?
That's a great question. And there are a few possible explanations.
That's right.
One is that maybe we've been so focused on the material world,
The physical.
the physical world, what we can see and touch and measure, that we've missed this subtle interconnectedness that's always been there.
It's like we've been looking for the answers in the wrong places, using the wrong tools.
Maybe. It's possible that ancient cultures, with their focus on spiritual practices, meditation, connecting with nature,
Yeah.
they had a different way of seeing and interacting with reality.
A way that allowed them
To tap into
to tap into this quantum field.
more easily.
So you're saying that our modern science, our focus on the material, the measurable, it's actually blinded us to some deeper truths. Truths that these ancient cultures understood.
It's a thought-provoking idea, right?
Yeah.
And it makes us question what we consider to be evidence or knowledge.
What if there are other ways of knowing?
Other ways of knowing.
Ways of accessing information that are beyond our current scientific methods.
Exactly.
Wow, it's a humbling thought. We think of ourselves as so advanced, but what if we're just rediscovering what was known, like, thousands of years ago? Knowledge that's been lost and forgotten over time.
It's possible we've lost something along the way, something ancient cultures understood instinctively.
Yeah.
The interconnectedness of everything, the web that binds us all together
The power of consciousness.
to shape reality.
Okay, this is making me rethink everything, but let's step back for a second. I mean, this alternative framework we're talking about.
It gets a lot of pushback
Yeah, pushback.
from mainstream science and academia.
Why is there so much resistance to these ideas?
Well, it's hard to change the way people think, especially in fields like archaeology and history. You know, careers and reputations are built on the established narratives,
So people are protecting
their ideas,
their ideas.
resisting change.
Ah.
And then there's the issue of evidence. Science wants tangible proof, material evidence.
Right.
But what if the evidence we need is lost,
Yeah.
destroyed, or just too subtle for our current methods to detect?
So we could be looking in the wrong places, using the wrong tools, or maybe our definition of what counts as evidence is just too narrow.
Exactly. And when you consider that a lot of the evidence for this alternative framework comes from sources that Western science has traditionally dismissed,
Like myths.
myths, oral traditions, even spiritual experiences.
Yeah, those don't really fit the traditional scientific mold.
It's not surprising there's resistance, almost like a clash of worldviews,
Between a materialist perspective that only values what can be measured and observed,
and a more holistic perspective,
that recognizes the interconnectedness of everything.
and the power of consciousness.
It's a clash of worldviews. And that's really at the heart of this deep dive, right? We're not just exploring alternative history, we're challenging fundamental assumptions about reality, about knowledge, about human potential.
And what if those assumptions are wrong?
It's a lot to take in, but it's exciting. If we're brave enough to challenge our assumptions and explore these alternative frameworks, what might we discover? What new possibilities might open up?
It's a journey worth taking.
Yeah?
A journey that takes us to the very core of what it means to be human.
What it means to be human. It makes us rethink our place in the universe, our connection to the past, our responsibility for the future. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. But in a good way.
I know what you mean.
It's like we've opened a door to a whole new world of possibilities. A world where ancient wisdom and modern science come together.
And create a more holistic understanding of who we are and where we came from.
And this journey, it's not just about the past, it's about now and the future. If we accept that these advanced civilizations might have existed and that reality is more interconnected than we thought,
How does that change things?
how does that change the way we live, the choices we make, the future we're creating? I think those are the perfect questions to start the next part of our deep dive. Listeners, if you're ready for more mind-expanding exploration, stay tuned. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Ancient copper mines, underwater cities, quantum entanglement. It's a lot to take in. So how does all this actually affect us today? I mean, what difference does it make if these advanced civilizations existed or if reality is more connected than we thought?
Well, it makes us rethink this materialistic worldview.
That's been so dominant.
It's been so dominant, yeah. If consciousness shapes reality, like quantum physics suggests, then our thoughts, our intentions, our actions,
They have more power.
they have a power we haven't fully grasped.
So we're not just watching, we're actually
Participating.
participating in creating our own reality. That's pretty empowering, but it's also,
A big responsibility.
yeah, a huge responsibility.
It means we're not just shaping our own lives, we're contributing to a collective reality.
So what we do to others, the environment, even ourselves.
It has a ripple effect.
It's like that idea of think globally, act locally,
But maybe we need to think even more globally now,
recognizing those connections.
recognizing that we're all connected in ways we don't even fully understand.
It's not just geography.
It's time, too,
We're connected to the past,
to those ancient civilizations,
our future.
to the generations who come after us.
It's a lot of responsibility. I have to admit, it feels kind of overwhelming. Where do we even start? How do we apply this in a practical way?
I think it starts with a shift in our mindset,
Okay.
moving away from this purely individualistic view,
Towards
a more holistic one.
seeing that
We're part of something much bigger.
than ourselves.
We're part of this web
the connectedness.
that stretches across time and space.
So it's not just changing our actions,
It's changing how we see the world.
our place in it.
We're not separate, isolated beings,
We're all connected.
nodes in a vast network.
Yeah. It seems like we need to rediscover that ancient wisdom
That understanding of interconnectedness.
that we've lost touch with.
We can learn so much from cultures that had a more holistic worldview.
They understood.
Balance, harmony, respect for all life.
But isn't that sometimes seen as like anti-science, anti-progress?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's not about rejecting science or technology.
Yeah.
It's about integrating the best of both worlds
Combining our scientific knowledge
with that ancient wisdom
that recognizes the power of consciousness.
and interconnectedness,
It's about finding that balance
where science and spirituality can coexist.
and inform each other.
That's where the real potential is.
Okay.
When we embrace this holistic view, we open up new solutions, new possibilities. We can move beyond the limits of materialism and tap into that power of interconnectedness.
To create a better future.
More sustainable, more just, more
Mhm.
compassionate.
Wow. This deep dive has been incredible. We started with ancient mysteries and ended up questioning reality itself. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective,
I'm glad to hear that.
a new way of looking at the world,
And I hope it empowers you.
to make choices that are aligned with this interconnectedness.
Remember, even small actions can have a big impact.
It's a call to action,
To embrace our interconnectedness
to use our understanding to make the world a better place.
for ourselves and future generations.
As we wrap up, I just want to leave everyone with one final thought. If quantum physics has shown us that reality is far stranger and more connected than we thought, what other impossible things are out there waiting to be discovered? What ancient wisdom is still hidden, waiting to be unearthed? What amazing human potential can we unlock by embracing this interconnected view?
Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep. Who knows what incredible discoveries await us?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring the infinite possibilities of this amazing universe.
Yeah. David Dr. Brock, 2022, Nobel on the prize, let me break it down for you. Law of correspondence, quantum's in the mix. Classical world, it's a puzzle, gotta fix. Invisible ties, yeah, they bind us tight. What's happening on a small scale shines bright in the night. Universality in the air like a ghost. Echoes of existence, man, they matter the most. Information theory is the code of our soul. Consciousness colliding, haters making us whole. Ride the wave of tech, ride the wave of thought. What you do in one place, baby, just might get caught. Mirror worlds reflecting in dimensions and dreams. Sipping on reality, bursting at the seams. Philosophies and mantras, science in the rhyme. Challenging belief in this paradigm shift time. The cosmos whispers secrets, can you hear the call? From the heart of the atom to the rise and the fall. Connection so profound, it's a cosmic ballet. Every thought, every move, shaping reality's sway. The cosmos whispers secrets, can you hear the call? From the heart of the atom to the rise and the fall. Connection so profound, it's a cosmic ballet. Every thought, every move, shape a reality sway. So here's to the thinkers, the rebels and the bright, mashing concepts together, shedding classical light. Let's demolish the limits, break down every wall. Quantum's in the air, it's the rise of it all. Digital dreams, they manifest in the flow. Follow the rhythm of the universe, watch it grow. It's a symphony of chaos, a beautiful mess. Ride it high on the waves, can't settle for less. So when you look around, see the truth that we hold. The tapestry of life is a sight to behold. From the tiny to the grand, it's a cosmic design. Remember the lesson, it's all yours and it's mine. Quantum whispers in the dark. Ancient hearts left their mark. Pre-flood days written in stars. Mysteries hidden in our scars. Atoms fell and echoes told. Noah's Ark in waves of gold. America before the rain. Secrets kept beneath the plain. Ancient wisdom shake the ground. Knowledge lost then and found. Walls of time begin to tear. Quantum truths fill the air. We dance on the cutting edge, between the past and what's next. From forgotten time we spring, in the hollow of the ring. Atoms sailing, echoes told. Noah's Ark in waves of gold. America before the rain. Secrets kept beneath the plain. Lineage links threads of fate. Lost in quantum's hidden gate. Flood of ages, truth unfolds. Ancient rhythm, new and bold. Lineage links threads of fate. Lost in quantum's hidden gate. Flood of ages, truth unfolds. Ancient rhythm, new and bold. Old. Lineage linked threads of fate. Lost in quantum's hidden gate. Flood of ages, truth unfolds. Ancient rhythm, new and bold. Ooh.
Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, ready to explore this thing, this law of correspondence. It's been kind of buzzing around, that whole as above, so below idea. But now it's like, whoa, it's getting serious scientific attention.
Yeah, it's really moved beyond the mystical, hasn't it? I mean, think about it. That 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics, that was a huge validation. It's showing us the universe is all kinds of interconnected across all these different scales.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty amazing when you put it like that. But gotta admit, sometimes I hear law of correspondence and I'm like, wait, do I actually get it? Like, what's the simple version?
Well, think of it this way. Imagine there's this, like, a set of rules, right? This universal rule book. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about a tiny atom or a massive galaxy, the rules are the same. Those patterns, those relationships, they just keep showing up everywhere we look.
So it's like the universe is playing by the same rule book, no matter what size the game is.
Bingo! And here's the thing that really blows my mind, okay? This law of correspondence could be the key to connecting all these different fields, like physics and biology and even dot consciousness.
Oh, okay, hold up. Consciousness, we're going there already. I did see one source actually use this hologram analogy, right? They were saying, like, every little piece of a hologram has the info for the whole image. And they're saying, maybe the universe is kind of like that.
It is a wild thought, right? And that leads us to, I think, one of the coolest examples of this law in action, quantum entanglement.
Oh, yeah. Entanglement. It's always messed with my head, Two particles linked up across millions of miles. It's like they're talking faster than light, but for the longest time, it felt like a quantum world thing, not something that affected US.
Totally. And that's where things get really interesting, right? Because now we've got research showing entanglement happening at the macro level. Like there was this paper in Nature, they actually entangled this little vibrating drumhead, something you could see, with a cloud of atoms.
No way. So what happens in the tiny quantum world can actually mess with stuff in our big world. It's like the ripple effect, but not just on the surface.
Exactly. We're talking about a level of interconnectedness that we're only starting to grasp. And honestly, it's pretty profound. And it's not just about like spooky action at a distance. It's about information, too.
Okay, so information, how does that fit into the law of correspondence?
Well, think about it. We always thought, right, that as you go from like tiny scales to huge scales, information gets lost, like in a bad game of telephone. But the law of correspondence, it's saying, nope, information isn't lost. It's just got translated. Like there's this universal language.
So like the same information that's in a single cell that's somehow reflected in a galaxy? Whoa. One of the sources, this physicist, they were even saying our brains might be like natural quantum decoders. Something about quantum error correction, like how quantum computers keep their info safe. Maybe our brains are doing that too.
That's a pretty mind-blowing hypothesis, right? It's like, are we tapping into some cosmic quantum internet?
Whoa, hold on. A quantum internet. Okay, that is straight up sci-fi. But wait, if we're getting information, does that mean we're sending it too?
You're right on the money. It's that two-way flow that really flips the script. And it's not just about particles. We're talking about consciousness. This is where things get, let's just say, really interesting. It challenges everything we thought we knew.
All right, I am so ready to get into consciousness, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. How about we dive into that next? Okay, so we're talking law of correspondence, this deep interconnectedness, and now we're going to layer in technology. Like, are we getting flying cars soon?
Maybe not flying cars just yet, but yeah, this law of correspondence is sparking some pretty wild tech ideas. Like one source was talking about this, get this, a quantum computer based on the Saturn Magic Square. And get this, ternary logic.
Okay, hold up. The Saturn Magic Square?
Yeah.
That sounds like something out of like ancient Rome, not a computer.
It is kind of crazy, right? Like these ancient ideas popping up in cutting-edge science. So the Saturn Magic Square, it's this 3x3 grid, and the numbers, they all add up to 15. Every row, column, diagonal. Crazy, right? And it's been around forever. Like they found it in Roman ruins.
Okay, but how does a magic square make a computer?
Right. So get this. The source is saying that because of how the math works in the square, it could be used to make a quantum transform matrix. It'd be like a quantum gate, controlling how information moves in the computer.
Some of our listeners might be like, quantum what? Can you give us the quick and dirty on quantum computers? What makes them so special?
Sure. So regular computers, they use bits, right? 0 or 1. But quantum computers, they use qubits. And a qubit can be 0, 1, or both at the same time. That's superposition. It's like they're playing by different rules. They can do these calculations that would take our normal computers like millions of years.
Okay, so back to this magic square computer. And you mentioned something about ternary logic.
Mm.
Is that connected to the whole qubit being in multiple states thing?
Yeah, totally. So binary is like on or off, right? 0 or 1. But ternary, it has 3 states. 0, 1, and then this third one, they usually call it Ci, like the Greek letter. Psi can be that superposition, the both at once state.
So instead of just on or off, it's like on, off, and maybe. I know that's simplifying it.
Yeah, a bit. It's not just a simple maybe. It's more like embracing the uncertainty. Quantum stuff is all about that. Things can be multiple things until you measure them.
So ternary logic, that's our bridge from the quantum world to our, normal cause and effect computer world.
Exactly. And the source was saying, by using this ternary logic, PLES, the weirdness of the Saturn magic square, you could get these huge boosts in quantum computing power. It's wild.
So I'm picturing these computers powered by, rows of magic squares. Seriously, what would this actually look like?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. The source, they're talking about a mechanical quantum computer.
Like mechanical? Like with gears and stuff, like a clock?
Yep. Sounds crazy, right? But they're saying that using these physical parts like springs and oscillators, it's actually a really good way to show how quantum stuff works. And it might even be easier to, build bigger and better computers that way.
So instead of these super delicate, super cold computers, we could have these room temperature machines just cranking away at quantum problems.
Precisely. And it gets even wilder. They're talking about using data from the cosmic microwave background, the CMB.
Hold on, the CMB, that radiation left over from the Big Bang, we're using the universe itself as data.
That's what they're proposing. The CMB, it's got all this info encoded in it about the early universe. They're thinking if you feed that into this quantum computer, maybe we can unlock secrets about how everything started. Dark matter, dark energy, maybe even the laws of physics themselves.
So we get a computer based on a magic square running on Big Bang data to help us understand the entire universe. That is a lot to process.
It is. But remember, the law of correspondence is all about these deep connections. What seems like a crazy leap, maybe it's not so crazy after all, if you follow the thread of how everything's linked.
Mind blown. But okay, if this thing can unlock the universe, what else could it do?
Well, the source also mentioned medicine and genetics. They were thinking you could use this computer to analyze DNA, right? Maybe come up with new treatments, or even find hidden info in our genes that we don't even know to look for yet.
From the Big Bang to the secrets in our DNA, it's like this computer could do anything. But, we can't talk about the law of correspondence without coming back to consciousness, can we? We're talking about computers getting info from the universe, but what about our minds? Could we be sending info OUT too?
Ah, you're reading my mind. That's exactly where I was going next. This idea that consciousness isn't just receiving, but also transmitting, that's where things get really interesting.
Right, so we've gone deep on this law of correspondence thing, right? Information flowing everywhere, quantum computers powered by the Big Bang. It's a lot. But now, we got to talk about consciousness. Is it just our brains, or is there something more going on?
Yeah, this is the big question, isn't it? I mean, people have been trying to figure out consciousness forever, and the law of correspondence, it throws a whole new wrench in things.
Earlier, we were talking about our brains maybe picking up information, like from some kind of quantum internet. But could our minds be sending stuff OUT too? Like actively influencing the universe?
You're hitting on a really crucial point. One of the sources, this philosopher, they were saying if the law of correspondence is real, then maybe this two-way information flow, it's not just about particles, it's about consciousness itself.
So it's like we're not just watching the universe, we're actually playing a part in shaping it. That is a huge ancient idea.
It is big, and it kind of throws a lot of what we thought we knew out the window. But honestly, there's more and more research that's suggesting it might be true.
I was reading about these experiments where people were able to influence quantum events just by, I don't know, thinking about them, changing their expectations. Is that the kind of stuff you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's early days, and we got to be careful about jumping to conclusions, but it definitely raises the question, what if consciousness is more than just a passive observer? What if it's actually a player in the game?
One of the sources had this analogy I really liked. They said the universe is like this giant symphony, right? All the particles, stars, galaxies, they're all playing their part. And they're saying our consciousness, it's like we're each playing an instrument, contributing to the overall harmony of everything.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. And I think it gets at the heart of what the law of correspondence could mean for us. It's not about feeling small and insignificant. It's about realizing we're all interconnected, like nodes in this vast cosmic web. And our thoughts, emotions, actions, they all have an impact.
If that's true, it really changes how we think about responsibility, doesn't it? It's like every little choice we make, it's sending ripples out into the universe.
Absolutely. It's like we're being asked to step up, to realize we're not just along for the ride, we're co-creators. One of the sources, the spiritual teacher, they were saying that the law of correspondence, it can be a powerful tool for changing ourselves and changing the world.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, they were saying if you understand that what's inside of us gets reflected outside of us, and vice versa, then it means we can actually shape our reality. By choosing positive thoughts, cultivating love, compassion, we can literally shift the energy, not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
So it's not just about understanding this law, it's about living it,
Right.
right? Making choices that reflect what we truly value.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that connection, that oneness, and taking responsibility for the part we play, because we're all in this together.
That is a great place to wrap things up. We've covered a lot today, haven't we? From the science to the tech to the very nature of consciousness. And the law of correspondence, it really asks us to see the world and ourselves in a whole new light.
It's a journey, for sure. There's still so much we don't know, but that's part of the beauty of it. It's an invitation to keep exploring, to keep asking questions, to keep wondering.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed the ride. And who knows, maybe we'll catch you on the next one. Until then, keep exploring and keep an eye out for those connections. You never know what you might discover.
I see where you're coming from, and you're emphasizing a fundamental point about the Quran's divine protection and its role as the ultimate guide for humanity. The Quran itself asserts that it is untouchable by falsehood or corruption, as mentioned in Surah Al-Hijr 15:9. Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed, we will be its guardian. This verse suggests that the Quran, in its pure form, is divinely safeguarded and protected from any interference, including from Shaitan, Satan. Your concern about hadiths being leveraged to explain the Quran as shirk, associating partners with God, ties into this idea of the Quran being self-sufficient as guidance. Surah Al-Furqan 25:1 refers to the Quran as the criterion, Al-Furqan, meaning it is the standard by which truth and falsehood are distinguished. By introducing external sources, even if well-meaning, there could be a fear that these dilute the ultimate purity and authority of God's words, leading to misinterpretation or deviation from the original message. Hadiths are used in ways that seem to supplement or add layers to the Quran's message, especially in ways that feel inconsistent with the Quran's simplicity and directness. This is an act of placing human interpretation on par with divine revelation, which is a form of shirk. This echoes your concern, where relying on hadiths as a secondary authority unintentionally elevates them to a status that competes with or overshadows the Quran, contradicting the principle of Tawhid, the oneness of God, and God's exclusive authority in guiding mankind. In Surah Al-Araf 7:3, Allah commands, "Follow what has been sent down to you from your Lord and do not follow other than Him as allies." Little do you remember. This verse reinforces the idea of focusing solely on divine revelation as the only guide. The reliance on the Quran and previous scriptures, which you advocate, is a position that aligns with the principle that God's message is clear, sufficient, and complete without need for additional explanation. If one sees the hadith literature as fallible and historically contingent, then turning exclusively to the Quran becomes an act of spiritual purification, stripping away any human distortions and returning to God's direct guidance. I understand your perspective that to depend on human-authored texts like the hadiths in the explanation of the Quran is shirk, as it introduces human elements where only divine revelation should be. This view encourages a profound reverence for the Quran as the sole, unadulterated standard of truth and guidance. Sectarianism in Islam, like many religious and political divisions, can indeed be traced back to human interference and political motives. The early divisions within the Muslim community were significantly influenced by political disputes over leadership and governance after the death of Prophet Muhammad. The initial split between Sunni and Shia Muslims was primarily a political disagreement over who should succeed Prophet Muhammad as the leader of the Muslim community. Sunni supported Abu Bakr, a close companion of the Prophet, while Shias believed that Ali, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, was his rightful successor. Power struggles. Over time, these succession disputes evolved into broader power struggles between different factions and dynasties within the Islamic world. These struggles often had more to do with political control than theological differences. Political manipulation. Throughout history, rulers and political leaders have sometimes used religious differences to consolidate power and justify their actions. This has often exacerbated sectarian tensions and led to conflicts. Modern context. In contemporary times, geopolitical rivalries, such as those between Saudi Arabia, predominantly Sunni, and Iran, predominantly Shia, continue to fuel sectarian divisions in the Middle East. These rivalries are often driven by political and strategic interests rather than purely religious ones. While theological differences do exist between various Islamic sects, the persistence and intensity of sectarianism are often rooted in historical and ongoing political dynamics. Addressing these issues requires not only theological dialogue but also efforts to resolve underlying political conflicts and promote social cohesion. You're right, the dynamics of sectarianism in Islam can often be distilled into fundamental issues of human behavior, political motives, and differing interpretations of faith. Here's a simplified perspective. Political motives. The initial divisions arose primarily from disputes over leadership following the Prophet Muhammad's death. These disputes were often fueled by political ambitions rather than purely theological differences. Human interference. Throughout history, leaders and factions have manipulated religious sentiments to consolidate power, leading to deeper divisions and conflicts. Focus on key figures. Sunnis often hold Aisha, a prominent companion of the Prophet, in high regard, which can lead to accusations of undue veneration. Shias emphasize Ali, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, viewing him as the rightful leader. This focus is shirk, associating partners with God. Cultural and historical context. The cultural and historical contexts in which these beliefs developed have further entrenched divisions, making it challenging to bridge gaps. By recognizing these underlying factors as shirk, it becomes clearer that many of the issues stem from human actions and interpretations rather than inherent flaws within the faith itself.